Thank you very much. It's a pleasure for me to be here at CPAC. And I would like to ask you for a big applause for another great nation of Latin America, Brazil, who today captured Lula da Silva, their former president, for corruption. He's one of the architects of the socialism of the 21st century. And I promised Brazilians that I was going to ask for the applause. It's an honor for me to be here, and I hope that in the next 15 minutes I can clarify you a little bit what is the panorama in Latin America and what you, as conservatives and Republicans and people who are trying to defend free market, can do with this bigger perspective. So let me start by, oh, sorry, if we could go back. Thank you. Yeah. So that's this one. I don't know where to point. Sorry, the one that is before this. I want to start by 1989. 1989 is a year where the Berlin Wall falls down, and two events happen in Latin America that are defining the politics of today, of 2016. The first one is that Marxist guerrillas, communist parties, socialist civic society stop receiving the funding of the USSR. And without Mama Soviet money, Fidel Castro is in a lot of trouble. And he needs to find out how is he going to refinance the project of, you know, spreading socialism and communism all over Latin America. We all had Marxist guerrillas trying to emulate what Fidel Castro did in Cuba. So what they do is they now know that through violence they won't get to power. They need to use democracy. And all the Marxist guerrillas, all the communist political parties of Latin America gather together in Sao Paulo, Brazil, and they celebrate something that was called Foro de Sao Paulo. And in this forum, they take the Communist Manifesto, they mix it up with the anti-Yankee and the hatred of private property. They mix it all together, and they come up with the agenda called the socialism of the 21st century, with different steps to follow. And they waited up. And then the right-wing presidents that were elected in Latin America take another plane. And they come to this city, to Washington, D.C., to celebrate the Washington Consensus. And all the right-wing presidents of Latin America of the 1990s, they swear that they were going to free the markets. And they go back home and they start privatizing everything they see. They privatize electricity companies, they privatize telephone companies, mailing, whatever, you name it, they privatize it. But they didn't free it. They only gave it in oligopolies and monopolies to their buddies and their partners, creating crony capitalism, state mercantilism, corporate welfare. But the thing is that in the mind of the average Latin America, capitalism doesn't work. Free market is the worst thing ever, even though we have never had free market. So the problem is this hatred and this exclusion in economy came up in 1998 with Hugo Chavez saying, you know what, guys? Capitalism is not the way. The way is socialism of the 21st century. And then it started. Populism in Latin America. Populism is as old as the Roman Empire. They called it bread and circus. It's nothing new. It's about manipulating people. But right now in Latin America, you have populism by saying, you know, you're too poor, you're too stupid, you need me, the Messiah, in power to take care of you, you know, to solve all your problems. And it all starts with this speech, this hate speech. People and anti-people. And of course, people are selfless. People are innocent of every single thing that has gone wrong in the country. People only need rights. And anti-people are the worst. Anti-people are the enemies. In Latin America, you know that common enemy to always blame is the United States. And I don't believe that the United States is responsible for everything that has happened in Latin America, because every time the United States has intervened is because someone in my country didn't have the guts to say stop. So with this speech of people and anti-people, it starts the populist handbook. First, you divide a society with hate. Because a society that hates within itself, in these two large groups of people and anti-people, it stops cooperating. And I think, well, great, but who is people? Where does people live? How does people think? I would love to go to people's house and knock on the door, and you know, for people to go out, handsome guy people, and say, people, I'm very confused, because everyone speaks in your behalf. Hitler spoke in your behalf. Mao Zedong spoke in your behalf. Che Guevara, Fidel Castro, Hugo Chavez, Lula da Silva, Cristina Kirchner. Everyone speaks on your behalf, people. And they all say you want a different thing. And no one knows what exactly do you want. So what's your real truth? But that's not possible, right? Because people doesn't exist. People is a myth. It's just a word that politicians, populist politicians use to divide us into groups to hate each other. The second thing, eliminate any opposition from the legislative branch. If you go to Latin America and you see all the countries, Ecuador, Venezuela, Cuba, Bolivia, Nicaragua, Argentina, Brazil, that have gotten in the socialism of the 21st century, you're not going to find one independent parliament. That doesn't exist. Then you go for the judges. And you go even what Cristina Kirchner did to get rid of Fiscal Nisman, who, by the way, today also, they're gonna reopen the case to blame her. So you don't have any more independence of powers. You have the three branches of power under one dictator. And then what do? You increase the state employment. In Venezuela, 1 of every 3 jobs is from the government. Who is going to rebel in a system like that? And then you have constitutional reforms to stay in power. And the guy that has gotten the more to the left in this is Evo Morales. Evo Morales changed the name of República of Bolivia because he couldn't get re-elected as a República, and now it's called the plurinational state of Bolivia. He invented a different figure, and he changed the constitution just to stay in power. Setting limits to private property becomes fundamental. 10,500 companies, business, small, big, large, whatever you name it, have been expropriated and nationalized in Venezuela. 1 million people have been killed by the regime because of being opposition. Then you eliminate freedom of press and freedom of speech. If you see someone like Rafael Correa, he goes every day in the news for 15 minutes saying that whatever the news said the day before was a complete lie. So with this handbook, of course, populism's fuel is corruption, because you start spreading all these lies that the Messiah is going to give you free stuff, while, of course, the 3 rights, life, liberty, and private property, are not respected. In my country, 17 people get killed daily. And there's 1 robbery every 6 minutes, but that doesn't matter as long as the populace is, giving away motorcycles or bags with food. That doesn't matter. So the debate we're trying to have in Latin America with the movement that I represent is, let's talk about republic and let's talk about populism. Because republic offers you dialogues. Spaces like this where you discuss ideas. It offers you balance of power, meritocracy, empowered citizens, life, liberty, and private property as the basic fundamental rights, and individual as the most important of all minorities. We are sick of governments that say that they are for the people. Thank you very much. And by doing so, they violate the most important minority, the individual, every single one of us. And then you have populism. Populism doesn't care about dialogue. It doesn't care about rationality or logic in the argument. And you have rationality 0, corruption, allowed of course, corporate welfare, that people confuse with free market, and free market is the worst, of course, and 0 institutions. So this is not the worst. The worst is that we're creating a cycle that is psychologically damaging Latin Americans. First of all, we have a victim education. When kids go to school, they find out that they're victims of the United States, of Spain, of the oligarchy, of the white, of whoever. They grow up having low self-esteem, and people with low self-esteem have insecurities in themselves. You cannot grow an entrepreneur from an insecure person who's not willing to take risks. So then you have panic of risk-taking. But you are with education as a victim, low self-esteem, insecurities in yourself, and with panic of risk-taking, but you still want to be rich. You still want the yachts and the helicopters and the women and the traveling, of course. So what do you do in Latin America if you grew up like this and you still want to be rich? You get in politics, of course. You go and you run for mayor, for congressman. Who cares? Once you're in power, you rob everyone, and with that money, you get your company. It doesn't matter. There's no risk. If you fail, it's not your money, it's people's money. Since people is not no one, then it doesn't matter. And once you're there, You make sure the victim education continues. So let me show you some examples. Universidad de Buenos Aires, Argentina. The left is with Cristina, and let the university stand with the people. And you see the faces over there. This is Bolivia, Evito's Adventures. They manipulate kindergarten kids into the story of Evo Morales. This is my favorite. Hugo Chavez with one of the founding fathers of Latin America, Simón Bolívar, who was a great admirer of the founding fathers of this country, shaking hands while Jesus Christ hugs both of them. You know? And this, of course, is Cuba. Cha, che, chi, cho, chu. The Che fought in Cuba. This is what kids are learning in Latin America in 2016, when technology is supposed to be our answer. So populism loves the poor so dearly, it multiplies them. So I gave a speech on November 2014, and I said, you know what? Let's dismantle populism using technology. And there were 15 million people in Latin America who said, I agree. Thank you. And I've been here for the past 2 days, and I've seen how important for Republicans is to understand that technology is the way of freeing our minds from all the bullcrap, as they already said, that has been implemented. So, Latinos come to U.S. to escape this populism back home, but they don't mind voting for populist campaigns once they are here. You know? Latinos for Obama, Latinos for Bernie, and this Latino woman, you know? So why is that? Thank you. Because they are used to it. They ran from it back home, but if they get here and you're going to give them free stuff, Latinos are going to say, great. I don't mind free stuff. It's what I am used to back home. They don't realize. They don't realize that they came here to be part of the American dream. This is because few of them actually know that what they were looking for when they ran away was a functional republic, where their lives, liberties, and private properties were guaranteed and respected. They don't realize it. Why not? Because they have been educated in poor formats. They don't make the connection. It's not like, I'm entering the United States. Oh my God, there's rule of law. Here my rights are respected. They don't do that connection. They only know that they can make money, 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 send back home. Life is beautiful in America. They don't see the connection. And you are the only ones who can make that connection in Latinos' heads using technology. So, my message is this. Latinos are the best supporters for the United States Constitution because they come here to have the things that populist dictators back home are not guaranteeing: life, liberty, and private property. But Latinos, unfortunately, still don't know their power. They still don't have the connection. So if you want to gain the Latino vote, take away the Constitution and show it to them, because those are the constitutions that are being dismantled back in our countries. Brazil, Venezuela, Argentina, Ecuador, Bolivia, and Cuba have all shrink the division of powers, the dialogue, the rationality, and the respect for life, liberty, and private property in order to have, again, dictators. But this time, they are democratic elected dictators. So no one says anything because there were elections, even though those elections were manipulated and controlled. So if there's one message that I can give to you, is that if you make these connections with Latinos, they're going to reject populism in America, which is also, you know, contagious, and it's coming here. Thank you very much. It was an honor.